Hello. I recently found this inside basically a garbage disposal facility thing near where I live. And amongst the bins of various kinds is an e-waste recycling bin. And that's where I found this beauty. Well, it was a beauty at one point. Given the damage to the case, I'm guessing that something very heavy was dropped on it. And given that people basically just throw all sorts of crap down on there, like TVs and whatnot, I assume that this thing was thrown in there, got damaged, and then someone threw something heavy on top of it. As you can see, there's some serious bending around some of the peripheral cards. The heatsink fan has been destroyed, and the RAM, if you can see it, has a bit of a bend to it. So my hope is to extract as many useful components from this machine as possible. But it'll be quite a challenge, I think. Which is a shame that this thing is in this condition, because it actually looks like it could have been quite neat. One of the things that stuck out to me was the front panel has this little door thing with not only a large assortment of audio jacks, Firewire, well, IEEE 1394 more broadly, since it's not an Apple computer, but whatever you want to call it, and then 2 USB ports, and then a floppy along with some kind of breakout 3.5-inch breakout slot thing for some additional outputs for graphics or whatever. That's video and composite. Quite unique, I think. And then some 5.25-inch bays with your standard assortment. I don't know. Maybe it's not that unique, but it feels unique to me, and that's, I guess, what's important. But regardless, originally this thing came with, assuming the sticker is correct, this thing will have an Athlon in there, AMD Athlon, 512 megabytes of RAM, 160 gigabyte hard disk, and a DVD drive, a DVD write, I guess, is and the cool part, I think, is the graphics. It's got FX 520 5200 graphics, and with 128 megabytes of video memory. And I don't know if you could really understand all that was said on the front of that because it's in Swedish, but it basically just outlines the cards in the system and what it came with, and it tells me the system is very much original, and whoever owned this machine beforehand hadn't really changed much about it, because the components that it says on the front are all in here. In terms of what I can salvage from the looks of it, I can salvage the dial-up modem. It looks to be okay, but then again, it's a dial-up modem, so who cares? I'm probably going to throw that right back into the e-waste recycling bin anyways. I can definitely not harvest that TV tuner card. That thing is warped. Then again, it doesn't really matter because who cares? Much like a dial-up modem, who actually uses those things these days? I certainly don't. The sound card appears to be fine, and sound cards are always nice to have, so I'll keep that one. I'm hoping the graphics card survived. It doesn't appear to be warped, so I'm hoping that the graphics card is okay. And that's this one right here. This is the sound card right here. This is the TV tuner card and then the dial-up modem. This fan on the back appears to be okay, so I'm planning on taking that one and cleaning it up. This fan is of course completely obliterated, but I might still be able to take the heatsink. The heatsink appears to be okay, so I don't see why I couldn't take the heatsink. I'm hoping the processor underneath is okay, but given the warp of the motherboard, I'm not sure how well that comes up in video, but the motherboard has a rather serious warp to it. It's bent in all manner of different ways. It's completely toast inside there. The power supply appears to be in solid condition, however, I don't necessarily trust it, and it's not really worth it. With power supplies, it's usually not worth risking it, especially for only a 250 watt unit. It's nothing special. It's not like this is a proprietary power supply. It just uses the standard 20-pin ATX connector. And most, if not all, power supplies still have that ability to break the 24-pin into the 20-pin and the 4-pin. So there's nothing really too special about it at all. And yeah, then you have the two disk drives up here, the two optical drives, and the floppy disk drive. Those all appear to be in perfectly fine condition. There's a lot of steel up here, so it looks like everything is quite solid. It looks like the majority of the trauma came from this corner where the metal is relatively thin and not very sturdy. Yeah, I guess we'll see what I can harvest from it. And as for the hard drive, yeah, I don't see why I couldn't take it, especially since it's an IDE drive. IDE drives are kind of a bit special, especially at that capacity, I would say. But it does actually have SATA connectors. So it has the ability to use SATA as well, which is interesting. This seems to me a bit like one of those transition boards and computers, one of those computers that sort of bridge the gap between major technological leaps, in that it has both IDE and SATA. Those kinds of boards are always fun, the ones that sort of bridge the gaps. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to start taking this thing apart and see what I can get out of it. So, I think we should start by taking out the graphics card. And let's see if I can even get the screwdriver down in there. Yes, that's good. And I'm going to try and do this one-handed, so I might end up dropping the screw, but I'll get it out later. I'm sure the screws are all fine. I'm sure I can harvest all of the screws. There we go. There goes that screw. And let us extract this card. Looks like there's a retaining mechanism. I must admit this is my first time dealing with an AGP card, so I'm not entirely familiar with how to deal with it, but let's unplug the fan, and then let's unplug, what is that supposed to be? USB? I'm not sure exactly what this is supposed to be. I'm not intimately familiar with the different keyings of different ports, so I'm not sure. But yeah. Oh, I see, there's a little release there. Okay. There we go. First AGP card I've ever dealt with. and it looks like it's quite stuck, which doesn't surprise me given the state of the computer. So I might need 2 hands. Okay, there we go. So, let's see. Put that in the light. So, we have a burst capacitor. That's fantastic. Not good. The good thing is that it doesn't look like it's too difficult to replace that capacitor. It's just a matter of finding the right capacitor and getting a new one. But other than that, looking at it, everything else appears to be in decent condition. Yeah, everything seems to be fine. And it's got VGA, S-Video, and AV. So it's just about that busted capacitor that I'll have to get a new one for. And the value for it is I can't tell immediately. Oh, yes, 1000 microfarad. So that's the value of that capacitor. Could be worse though, all things considered. Could be a lot worse. And now let's pop out the sound card. It should also be okay. And that screw just went goodbye. Luckily the rest of these cards are PCI cards, so they don't have any latches to deal with. And we have a Asus branded sound card. And the caps all look fine, I guess. This one right here looks a bit wonky, but other than that, everything on this card looks to be in perfectly fine condition. In fact, I might actually have a use for this card. In my father's new computer needs a sound card. Oh wait, that's right, that one has to be PCIe based, because that thing only has a PCIe slot, and that one's PCI, so oh well, that won't work, but still nice to have. Looks to be a fine card. And then, looking at this TV tuner card, and don't really know the best way of getting that out of there. Maybe just like that. And we have some wires attached. And it's a Philips branded one. And let's get that one disconnected. And come on. It's really stuck on there. It's really stuck on there. But whatever. Either way, looks to be, other than being bent, looks to be fine. Asus, PCB made in China. And there's the TV tuner portion of the card. And not really a whole lot else going on. Alright, well, it took me a bit of fighting, but I got it off. Now let's take a look at that final card, the dial-up modem. Let's get it from under there. There we go. And it is I guess light on, because it says light on it, so I guess it's a light on card. And yeah, it actually appears to be in perfectly fine condition. The biggest problem with the card is that it's a dial-up modem. So, yeah, very useful. But, oh well. I'd say the TV tuner card is more useful in today's world. But, yeah, the peripheral cards, not too bad, I think. I think it all came out relatively fine. That RAM stick is what I think I will deal with next. And I'm just going to pop out some of these cables. And that was lovely. Just to make room. And I just ripped the header clean off the board. Oh wait, no, never mind. Just looked like I did. They're all on these weird little adapter things, I think. A lot of like weird adapters and strange cables. There's like an extender here that goes from this to this. So focus. Maybe. There we go. Maybe. Focus. Focus. Yeah, so I don't know how well you can tell, but there's a lot of like standard to weird connector shenanigans going. Proprietary nonsense abound, I think. A lot of proprietary nonsense. And everyone knows that my favorite is proprietary nonsense. Now, we can look at that RAM module. Maybe. It looks like it's not releasing, which kind of makes sense given the shitstorm it's been through. Yeah, that's not cooperating. There you go. Oh, it looks like that side is completely popped up. There we go. So, it is 512 megabytes. The front sticker said 512 megabytes, so I'm guessing this incredibly dusty stick is original. And actually, now that it's out of the system, it doesn't look too bent, but it is still bent, which means it wouldn't really fit into any system, so I'm going to consider this to be basically trash. I mean, you can tell it has a bit bit of a curve. Maybe you can't, but I can. So, very dusty in there. Now, let's remove the rest of these front panel connectors. Just to clear the place up a bit. Yikes. Okay. So this blue one goes to the hard drive, and this one goes to the DVD drives, and this one goes to the floppy drive. This one down there. And let's remove the ATX power connector. And let's pull out that Molex connector if we can. No, that one's going to require two hands, I think. I am going to go clear out some more stuff from this thing, and then show you what we have in terms of front panel drives. Alright, so I am back, and let's get to work clearing this thing out so I can actually pull out the motherboard. And there. And it looks like the drives are not secured, or at least not very well. And this one is just floating free. Oh, that's weird. Why is it like that? It's like all messed up. Oh well. The point is it's not connected power cable wise, so it shouldn't really make too much of a difference. I think I should pull out the power supply now. I think I'll have to push this drive a bit forward to do that. What is the nature of this thing? Well, I could unscrew the power supply now, but I might need to somehow get this forward. Oh, wait, so maybe that was the problem. No, I think it's stuck or something. I don't know. Let's unscrew it. Now let's see if we can pop out the unit. Looks like it's going to require this drive to move forward. Maybe. I'm going to figure out how to get that thing to move forward, and then I'll continue. Turns out the solution, as it turns out, the solution is to actually follow the instructions of how it works. What a crazy concept. If you follow instructions, it'll work. Wow. Wow. What wisdom I have for you. Is this thing caught on something? I feel like it's caught on something. It looks like it's caught on something. Well, I can't seem to get the power supply to come out. I think it's because it's just blocked by these two drives. So instead, let's try and get the faceplate off so that one can, yeah, so I can actually do that. And it looks like to do that I just need to lift some clips of various kinds. And yep, it's quite a standard little faceplate removal. Oh wow, you can really see on the back side how the motherboard tray was literally caved in. I still don't entirely know how that happened, but whatever. And at some point this will actually come off. There we go. Oh, it's going to be nice and dusty under here. But while we have the opportunity, let's that's disgusting. Look at all this grime. Ooh, look at that. Designed for Windows XP. Nice. The power button doesn't exactly feel very satisfying at this point. It's got no actuation. But yeah. And look at that. 56K modem. Ooh. Ooh. With FireWire capabilities. Ooh. And a PC TV tuner. PCI TV tuner. Fancy stuff. Yep. Anyways, let's pop this off. And it's stuck again. I guess pushing the power button caused it to do that. Okay, there we go. And that's a dusty mess. Let's put that aside. And we've got some hairballs and other such nastiness. Let me just bring over the old trash can. Plop that in there. Ew. Oh, look at that. I don't know if you can hear that, but the power button definitely is still clicky. It's just that the button on the front is not. So that's unfortunate. I don't know if you can hear that, but I can. That's glorious. Okay, so yeah, I think I need to now unscrew these drives so that I can pop them forward. It looks like the DVD-RW drive is already literally vomiting. It's not looking very good. It's having problems, I think. So let's set it back onto its side. Maybe one of these days I'll get a camera I can mount, and I'll actually have two hands. Because two hands is always better than one hand. We'll see. That's for future me to figure out. I mean, I don't exactly expect anyone to really watch this video, so if you do and you like it, that's great. If you don't, then oh well. But I'm just making this video for fun, so I'm not exactly pouring my blood, sweat, and tears into it. I think that makes sense. I think that's fair. Wait a minute. Oh. I see. Apparently you don't need to undo those screws. Apparently those screws were holding on the actual top cover of the unit. Oh well. But, man, is this thing dusty. Let's see. Upon closer inspection, if I can actually get some light. It looks like, yeah, this is an IDE drive. That's nice. Can never have too many of these. And I have no idea what's going on with the internals and why it's like that, but it might be able to be saved, actually. I have hope. I have hope for this little guy. I'm sure it'll be fine. Looking at this one, and it also looks quite straight. And a very similar back, also made by Philips. And yeah, and I think I'll have to unscrew this to get it out. Looks like it's screwed in on the other side, or it definitely appears that way. These things all seem to be fine, so I'm just going to stop the video right now, and I think that you shall join me again when I have the motherboard out. Because that is, I think, the next thing of interest. I think these front drives are all fine. I don't know if they work, but they definitely appear to be in better condition than the motherboard, for instance. Wow. I just pulled out the power supply, and it is actually seemingly in remarkably good condition, considering that the rest of the computer's condition, of course. But, yeah, I think it might actually be salvageable. Of course, the prudent man would say one should not use it because it's not worth it. But the cheap man would say, well, it works, doesn't it? And that it does. And it's got a, yeah. Of course, its connectors are useless by modern standards. Even if you were to use it as a basic power supply, its connectors are fairly useless by modern standards. 2 Molex with a floppy, another 2 Molex with a floppy, a 4-pin EPS and 20-pin ATX. So, yeah, not exactly the cream of the crop by modern standards, I'd say. And here we have a 160 gigabyte Seagate Barracuda 7200 RPM drive. And yeah, 160 gigabytes IDE, not bad at all. It appears to be in fine condition. I can't necessarily say anything for the internals of the drive, of course, considering the thing was completely smashed, the computer that is. And hard drives are not known for their resiliency. They're not known for being the most durable things in the world. They're quite delicate. And I can actually hear something rattling around inside when I give it a little bit of a shake. So I'm not entirely hopeful, which is really a pity because, yeah, 160 gigabytes IDE, that's not bad at all. Not bad at all. Still working to figure out how to, still working to figure out how to get rid of this floppy drive and front panel connector thing, this little video breakout thing. It's still not entirely obvious to me, but I'm exploring. And here we are. I have extracted the motherboard, and now you can really get to see that curve. I mean, it might be okay if it was slightly curved, but not when it's this curved. It is excessively curved. It is definitely curved not for my pleasure. Look at that, you can see the warp. You can see the warpage. But on the flip side, the backside is beautiful. Isn't it just, I don't know if the camera really picks up how golden and beautiful it is. It's so pretty to look at. It really is a marvel of modern engineering, isn't it? Modern being like 20 years ago, but still, modern is relative. Now, what to do with this board? Well, I still have the CPU to extract, assuming the CPU looks good. But as for the rest of it, I thought about maybe keeping it for parts, but at the same time, it's also been through hell, and therefore probably should not be used for parts. But then again, if it's not going to be used for parts, then what qualifies as being used for parts? Part of it depends on space. I don't have a lot of space for stuff that I might need in the future. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to keep it, but we'll see. Anyways, I think all that's left now is just to extract the CPU. I think the CPU is okay, but you never know. Guess we'll find out. Wow. Shockingly, the thermal paste is not actually completely dry. That is shocking to me. As for the CPU, well, it looks okay thus far. Let's raise it out of its socket. There we go. And come on. Oh, it's stuck. That's not good. Ooh. Gently raise it up, and a couple of bent pins up at the corner, which isn't surprising given that it was stuck, but that explains why it was stuck. You can see right there near the gold triangle, there are a couple of bent pins, but nothing too bad actually. Well then, I think that actually worked surprisingly well. It's a shame it doesn't have an IHS, because it means that the CPU cooler that it has is, I don't know, it just seems kind of proprietary to me. But then again, I'm not an expert on older systems. And I'm going to put this down before my hand shakes it out of position and ends up falling, because then it'll have more than just a few bent pins. I love my shaky hand. Yeah. Well, let's move this out of the way for right now. And it feels like the chipset heatsink is actually loose as well. I'm probably gonna pop that up and see what's underneath. I imagine it's gonna be a chipset still. Yep, there it is. And what's rather annoying is it looks like the motherboard tray might actually be removable. Well, maybe not. It just kind of looked like it at first. This part is definitely removable, or at least it was. I don't know what its purpose would be, but maybe it's because this case could accommodate smaller motherboards along with larger ones. Maybe this little part that slides out and then away would be if you wanted to use a smaller motherboard form factor. I'm not sure. Either way, you can really see. I'm not entirely sure, as I said, what happened to this system. I'm thinking that someone put it in here put it into the e-waste bin because it's old and therefore who wants it. And then someone threw something heavy on top of it, but I'm not entirely sure. It could have been that this is what happened to it and then they put it into the bin and then someone threw a TV on it. Either way, throwing the TV onto the computer did not help. I think that's something we can all agree upon. That it did not help the computer to have a TV thrown on it. Anyways, I'm going to extract this fan and then I think that'll be about it. So, in conclusion, what did I get, what did I not get out of this? What has been a success? Well, the case is of course trash. That's going right back into the bin. I think as well as the motherboard. If I had infinite storage capacity, then maybe I would keep it. But I don't really have infinite storage capacity, especially since I'm on vacation in Sweden. I'm not exactly back home in my usual office with all my various tools and accessories. The heatsink is just fine. It's just a heatsink. The fan is combusted, so it would need a new fan. The graphics card just needs a new capacitor because it has burst and does not look all that pretty. The hard drive is in good physical condition from the outside, but there's something rattling around on the inside, which is not good. The TV tuner card is warped and therefore, I assume, not working, but who cares? It's just a TV tuner card. All the various cables and screws and other such things all seem to be fine, and there's no reason to suspect why that they wouldn't be fine. The 56K modem appears to be fine, but who really cares? It's a 56K modem. It's not like it has much use these days.
Sound card appears to be fine, and I'm sure there's a use for it. Especially for like retro gaming or whatever. If you need a sound card, it's PCI based. Let me just zoom in on that. Oh yeah, see, look, that's some zoom right there. That way I don't have to keep pointing at it. But the RAM is bent, and it's not really a big deal. I'm just going to throw that back into the bin because it's only 512 megabytes. But also, it's more the point, it's bent, and it probably doesn't work anymore, and it's not worth the risk of having an issue. Speaking of which, the power supply also appears to be fine. It doesn't appear to have any physical damage, but then again, it's also maybe not worth the risk of setting your house on fire. So, yeah. And the 2 DVD drives along with the floppy drive seem to be fine, except for this one, which has its little issue going on. At some point I'll open it up and figure out what's going on with it. The fan on the back of the computer seems to be fine. And this little front panel S-video and composite seems to be fine. And then there's this little thing here which had the front panel connectors. And this is as a module. I might actually be able to sell that online if someone's looking for a replacement for a similar system. We'll see. Overall, was it worth it? I'd say yeah, definitely. But I could find that most of this stuff doesn't actually work. So that's that. But it was still fun to go through. Anyways, thank you for joining me on this very unprofessional and probably somewhat boring and maybe even weird and cringy video as I explore a completely obliterated computer while I'm on vacation in Sweden, found in a local rubbish bin. Yeah, 3-step front cover removal instructions. Right. Of course, the only thing in here that even makes it look vaguely like it's from Sweden is just the stuff on the front panel connector. Let me just show that again, where it's like got some Swedish on there. And but other than that, there's nothing that really points at this being anything other than just a computer. But because of that front panel, because of the front stickers, it indicates that it's Swedish. So there you go. My first ever featured computer, Swedish computer on the channel. I think anyways. But yeah, I hope you're all enjoying your time and your vacations if you're on vacation or whatever it is. And I'll see you next time. Bye.